Hey guys, welcome back to Delving into the Cold. This is Dee. This will be our last episode for this month, and it's your second urban legend episode, so we're just going to go ahead and get into it. Today we're going to be discussing the legend of the killer in the backseat. Now, this legend was first noted by folklorist Carlos Drake in 1968. And he heard about it from Indiana University students. And those of you who have never heard it, there's a couple of versions. I'll go over the most common ones really quick. Basically, the legend goes that a woman is driving alone, and she's being followed by a vehicle that keeps flashing its high beams and tailgating her. The guy even rams her, at some point, and so it freaks her out. By the time she gets home, she's rattled. She gets out of the car, and she realizes that there's a murderer or an escaped mental patient, whichever the version goes, in her back seat, and that the person that had been behind her had been trying to warn her. And every time the guy would pop up to attack her, the person behind her would flash their high beams and make him go back into hiding. So that's one version. Another version is of a woman who stops for gas, and the attendant calls her inside under the pretense of a credit card problem. When she gets in there, he asks if she knows that there's a man in her back seat. Turns out it's an escaped mental patient, a murderer, whatever you choose to, fill in the blank with. Another another version of this legend that's popular, especially in the UK, is about a woman who sees a doll on the road and she stops, and when she stops, the guy sneaks into her car. Another one, it's kind of less common, but of the legend, it's still one of the more popular versions, is about a woman who gets in her car and someone appears at her window and starts screaming and banging on the car or whatever. And she finally gets away from that person, and it keeps happening. Anywhere she turns, there's another person screaming at her, banging on her car. And so finally she gets to a police station, and she finds out that there was a killer in her back seat the whole time. And the crazy people, quote unquote, were actually the ghost of his victims, either trying to warn her or trying to get back at him. So, the message of this legend, to me, in my opinion, is don't judge a book by its cover. Because the guy that's in the truck in the first version that I told you about that's flashing his high beams is typically a big, burly, kind of scary-looking man. The attendant is usually shown as being a greasy, scary-looking person. And then obviously the ghosts are scary, crazed people. But they're actually trying to save the woman from being attacked. And so, it's basically just, don't judge someone by their looks. Just because people look scary doesn't mean that they're going to hurt you. Now, this is a popular urban legend, especially since probably the late 80s. It's been seen in various movies and TV shows. In the movie Urban Legend, it's the opening scene. A version of it is in Halloween, The Curse of Chucky, Nightmares. It's on the show Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction, The Jonathan Creek Show, The Simpsons, and Scream Queens. There are not a lot of documented cases where this actually happened, but one of them that is documented happened in 1964 in New York City. A police officer found an escaped murderer in his backseat. And then in September 2007, an Alabama college student was threatened at gunpoint by someone who popped up from her backseat. Thankfully, she escaped and was unharmed. But this is something that I've been told, I would say fairly recently, probably within the last 5 years, to always check my back seat because this was happening to people. And in fact, in Chicago in 2013, there was a rape, or possibly more than one, but I know of one specifically that happened when the perpetrator popped up from the backseat. In 1999 through 2002, a lot of people believed that this was the way that gang members completed their initiation. They would flash their high beams, and then if anyone stopped, if the woman stopped, they would rape her. And to me, this is a totally plausible legend. I believe it totally could have happened. I believe it's a cautionary tale to be careful. I still check my back seats if I'm out after dark, especially if my husband's not with me. And I read a lot of things on the internet when I was researching that said that it was a sexist urban legend. And I don't know that I would use the term sexist, because as someone who studied criminal justice and worked in the criminal justice field, women are more likely to be attacked when they're alone. And I think that's what this, story is telling us. Alright guys, that's all I've got for this week. It's a short episode, but the urban legend episodes usually are. Make me some recommendations. I'm gonna put a forum up on my website, and you guys can go on there and either recommend a case or vote on which case that you prefer. And as always, you can leave me a comment or you can send me an email. My links will be below the YouTube video, and they're also linked on the podcast website. Alright guys, stay safe, stay curious. I'll see you next time. Hey guys, welcome back to Delving into the Cold. This is Steve.